So today we are going to discuss another important thing that is called resultant vector. Resultant vector. So first question that comes, what are the result of vector? So it is that single vector. It is that single vector which produces the same effect as it is produced by individual vector together. I used to give the example that let us suppose I have 100 rupees and there is another my student whose name is Rahul. Rahul have 10 rupees but 10 notes. Number is 10 notes. Now you can see it has more number. If I count the number, it's at 10 notes of 10 rupees. But if you add, the answer is remain. So it means I have a resultant of 10 notes, 10 rupees notes. In the similar way, when number of vectors acting on a system, I will find a single vector which will produce the same effect as produced by the individual vector. So I am going to start to find the resultant of two vectors basically. So resultant of two vectors. The first case that comes when two vectors are in same direction, A vector, B vector. When two vectors in same direction, the resultant is given by A vector plus B vector. But when two vectors, this was the case in same direction. But next is case is when both vectors are in opposite direction. So one vector in this side, another is opposite to this side. So then resultant vector will be A vector minus. Here I suppose that A vector magnitude is greater than the B vector magnitude. Here I suppose that A vector magnitude is greater than the B vector magnitude, and the resultant vector will be in the direction of A vectors. Third, that is the important, when two vectors making some angle with each other. This is A vector, this is B vector, this is origin, and it makes some angle theta with each other. In order to find the resultant of two vectors, when these two are making some angle with each other, we use two laws. First is called triangle law of vector addition. Triangle law of vector addition. Very simple. It states that if two vectors represent two sides of a triangle and inclined with some angle theta, then resultant is given by third side. Then resultant is given by third side but in opposite order. If I space OPQ, this OP is A vector and PQ is B vector. You can see its direction in the same side. If I move to the same side, but if I'm turning to this side, this is opposite to my this side, and this is called triangle law of vector addition. I already sent you notes. There is written that if two vectors both on magnitude and direction present the two sides of a triangle in same order, the resultant is given by the third side but in opposite order, and what will be that resultant? That will be equal to A vector plus B vector. So two vectors making some an angle, the first law that I will discuss is the triangle law of vector addition. So second we are going to discuss, that is parallelogram. Parallelogram law of vector addition. Parallelogram law of vector addition. Now, what is this parallelogram law of addition? It states that if two vector represents the two sides of parallelogram, this is AB, this point is C. This is my first vector P vector, this is second vector Q. These are two co-initial vectors, I can say. These two are co-initial vectors. And if I complete this parallelogram, you can see this complete parallelogram. The resultant is given by the principal diagonal. Principal diagonal means this point from where these two intersect. And this resultant, you can see this is AC is a Q vector. In case of parallelogram, you know this is also Q vector. So this is your resultant R vector. If I hide this one, now you can see if I hide this one, this is again triangle law. सर बिल्कुल वही, अगर इसको कर दे बंद, ये देखो फिर से ट्रायंगल लॉ बन गया. But the difference is that in this case vectors are co-initial or co-terminating. So answer remains same, उसमें कोई change नहीं है. Again it is making an angle theta with each other, and this is resultant. And resultant there is no change. I already told you it is similar to this A vector plus B vector. So these two we apply when we know the two vectors. But if there are more than two vectors, then we use that is called polygon law of vector addition. Polygon law of vector addition. Polygon law of vector addition. How to use? Very simple. First vector A vector, B vector, this side is C vector, this side is D vector. So if different vectors, listen carefully, polygon kya tha law? If different vector represents the different sides of a polygon but in same order. Again writing different vectors represents different sides of a polygon but in same order. Order same कैसे? ये इधर गया, ये बच्चे इधर गया, ये ऊपर की तरफ, ये नीचे गया. Then resultant is given by closing side of polygon. But in opposite order. इसको बेटा करते हैं बड़े आराम से. ये देखना, ये है closing side and in opposite order. This will give you my resultant vector. If you look at this, if I join this, A vector, B vector, this is a triangle. If I call this M, let me wait. So let us understand clearly from the next page of the diagram. Polygon law of vector addition. If more than two vectors given, and you want to find the resultant. So once again I am taking, this is the first vector, second vector, third vector, fourth vector. This is called O, A, B, C and D. Now this OA vector is my F1 vector, AB is my F2 vector, this is my F3 vector, OA is my F1 vector, AB is F2 vector, this is F3 vector, and CD is my F4 vector. Now you can see that all vector in same order. Then according to definition, this will be my resultant but in opposite order. How to find that resultant? If I join with this line, now you can see in triangle OAB, if I apply triangle law of vector addition, then OB vector will be equal to F1 vector plus F2 vector, OB vector. Now do one thing, now join this one with C. Now in triangle, which triangle now? It is OBC. Look at this, same side, so this will be opposite side. It means OC vector will be equal to F1 vector plus F2 vector plus F3 vector. Okay, Now you do one thing. This is, you know, this and this. Now you take the triangle OC, OCT. In triangle OCD, both are in same side, but this is opposite. So resultant will be equal to बच्चे F1 plus F2 plus F3 plus क्या आएगा साथ में F4. This is your resultant. So this is called polygon law of vector addition. If I go further, then we do another thing that is called analytical method to find the resultant of two vectors. So now we'll study the method how to find the resultant of two vectors and the formula that we will use in solving the numericals.